WOTW HD2 Windermere. Bud 94.1. From the attorneys Justin Clark and Associates YouHavePower.com studios, this is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Good morning and happy weekend to you. Thank you for joining me right here for another edition of Behind the Law with me, attorney Justin Clark. We're here to answer any legal question that you may have. Anything from accident to zonings, dial up the phone 321-282-1055. During the week, we focus mostly on bankruptcy, IRS problems, real estate, personal injury, and even your student loan problems. But for the purposes of this show, call us for anything. Anything accident to zoning, 321-282-1055. Plenty of information on the website as well. YouHavePower.com. You can watch the show live on Facebook at ATTY. Justin Clark. Joining me as always to my right is my good friend and Orlando radio legend Mick Dolan. Mick, what's up, brother? How are you?
I'm just another great day to be alive here in Central Florida.
And filling in for Skid today and pushing all the buttons for us, making sure the show goes as smoothly as possible is my man, Johnny Gash. Johnny, what up, man?
I can't believe they let me do this.
Do you guys want to spend the first part of the show talking trash about Skid, or are we going to skip that? I'm okay either way.
Well, he's a Cleveland Indians fan.
Whatever you guys want to do.
What do you need? What more do you need to know?
That's right.
I mean, I don't know who spends their hard-earned money flying across the country to go to spring training game number 1, but that's what Skid did.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And plus, it's cold.
Is it really?
His luck in Phoenix.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
All right, so we're missing Skid today. He's in Arizona for spring training game 1. You know they're playing their best players in this game. There's 162 regular season games. And the guy's going to spend his money on a flight to Arizona for game 1 of spring training.
Well, I guess, how do you know what the good players are, who the good players are?
Yeah.
But to his defense, who would want to fly to Cleveland anyway?
That's
That's
actually a pretty valid point, Johnny. So, last week we were here, Mick, and I said I got a text message towards the end of the show, and I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. That sounds like maybe something's going on here. And indeed, little Mila did come last Saturday morning. Really? So we're very happy to see her. I mean, it was an adventure, though. Let me tell you something about it. So, number one, you know my wife is Colombian, right?
Right.
And I don't mean to speak generally about Colombians by any stretch of the imagination. But she will admit that, at least in her family, they can be a little bit fiery. Yes. And apparently, allegedly, having a baby hurts, right?
Yeah.
Apparently having a baby hurts, and I found that out.
That's
we
what
definitely
we hear, yes.
we definitely found that out the hard way. So we were down at Winnie Palmer, right? So, it hurts for a while, but then I guess it gets really real there. It gets close, and it starts to hurt really bad. So they say, okay, it's time to do the epidural. You can only have one person in the room, and she was getting a little fiery. So, like any good spouse, I look at her aunt and say, do you want to stay? So aunt wants to stay, and we go out in the waiting room with her mother and my other daughter, Sophia. And then aunt comes out and looks at me like, your turn to go, give him a little support. And so I walk in the birth room, whatever you call it. She's like, can you just rub my head or something? So I rubbed her head a little bit. She's like, stop it! I was like, okay. So I did. So I go in the corner, and this is not radio fodder. This is the exact truth. So I go in the corner, and I'm standing there just like this, like, wipe that smile on your face. You know what? Just get out of the room. So she made me leave the room. So I go out in the waiting room with her mom, her aunt, her grandmother, my daughter. And then, 15 minutes later, I'm thinking, someone needs to go back there and check on her. So like any good spouse, I look at her mom and say,
go.
I'm like, go. It's time for you to go check on her. So the mom tries to go in, and there's like this hardcore security person there's like, no, only expectant fathers are allowed back, no one else. So I have to go back. And then I finally get back there, and boom, baby's already out. So I missed the birth and everything. But maybe that was best. But Mila arrived. Pilar, you did fantastic. I'm very, very happy to have a second kid.
Well, now, was this right before you passed out?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I actually did pretty well this time, I would say. But
a little practice.
No crying, no passing out.
Yeah.
We're happy. We're happy. But I was definitely in trouble there for a little while. Anyway, 321-282-1055. Justin Clark here with you with Mick Dolan, my good friend Johnny Gash filling in for Skid. And I want to welcome someone else to the program, a good friend of mine, but also someone who I think has some outstanding information and very timely information to give us over the course of the next hour. His name is Tom Malenko. Tom, what's up, man? How are you?
Good, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tom is, in my opinion, the preeminent IT security guy in Central Florida. And what better time than IT security? I think the first time I really recognized that this world was totally messed up, and maybe I listen to TMZ or go to TMZ too much, but when that Sony hack happened, I was like, wow, this is getting real.
That was a big one.
That was major.
I mean, this is really getting scary.
That was the start of the whole Trump North Korean thing, right?
Exactly.
So maybe,
right.
I don't know.
Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we've gone from, you're on your computer and you're worried about getting a virus to the point where terrorists are threatening to terrorize us through digital measures. Tom, I mean, what's going on out there? What can we do to really protect ourselves?
Well, that's a really broad question that I can give a pretty good answer to. And I just wanted to say, Justin, thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me here today. As far as what can you do? So it depends. I mean, are we talking about businesses or are we talking about just everybody at home?
Let's talk about the general consumer. Let me be a little more specific. And first of all, Tom is the man over at Find My Weakness. If you have any questions about him, you can go to findmyweakness.com.
That's the site.
From a consumer perspective first, let's talk about this because literally people are worried to even go pay for gasoline with credit cards anymore. I went to the other day, I had a tire that was going down, and I had to use a credit card to get air in the tire. I'm like, this has got to be stupid. I mean, how do we protect ourselves as consumers from getting all of our money stolen?
Yeah, well, the first thing you have to recognize is that there is a real threat, and it's more than just being paranoid, because as a security professional, there's a lot of security professionals that are paranoid and scream that the sky is falling, right? But in some cases, the sky is starting to come down a little bit, right? So when we talk about
cracks.
Yeah, exactly. When we talk about being at the gas station and skimmers and all of that stuff, there's somebody pretty much around every corner, whether it's digitally or even on the physical side of the house, that is looking to take advantage of you, right? The skimmers are a great idea, or a great example. So you can be at the gas station and there might be some little device that's over the credit card reader that will snag your card, right? I'll give you one more thing to be paranoid about, and I'll answer your question here in a second. But when you go to a restaurant and you pay for your bill, sometimes the waiters have a skimmer in their pocket, in their jacket, and they'll take a nice little swipe to grab your credit card information before they run your transaction a little bit later. ATM, it's all the same stuff. But what can you do? I think the first thing that you need to do as just a regular consumer is you just need to be aware. You need to be aware of the threats around you, right? So as you become more aware, you become more responsive to those threats. From a technology perspective, there's a lot of different things that you can do. So the first thing you have to do is you have to recognize my business plug here. You got to find your own weakness, right? You got to identify the weaknesses that we have in our lives on the technical level, right? So browsing the internet, your banking, all these different things that we're doing, social media, all these different things that we're involved in with technology. We have to identify, okay, where am I vulnerable to something that I wouldn't want to happen, right? So it comes down to your level of risk, so how much risk do you want to take? If you don't care if somebody takes over your Facebook account and makes all kinds of random posts and, whatever, if you don't care about that, then who cares what your password is, right? It doesn't matter, right? But that more than likely, that's something that people do care about, right? So for Facebook, for instance, or any social media account or any account that you use to log in, you want to have a complex password, right? That's a good example of something that you can do to mitigate that risk, right? So the risk is what's the likelihood of something happening? How you can mitigate it is doing something or lower that risk is doing something to lower it, right? So a good example, have a complex password, right? I mean, a lot of people have the simplest passwords they can think of, right?
1, 2, 3, ABC.
Exactly. And you know what?
I'm gonna have to change that.
We'll talk after, Vic. But and then in addition to that, a lot of people will use the same password for all of their different online personas, whether it's social media or banking or whatnot. So when one of these sites get compromised and your password gets revealed to the internet, the dark web or whatever, now if somebody gets a hold of that and they find out your other personas on all these different sites, they can use that and log in, under your bank account because you just happen to use the same password you use for LinkedIn, right? Or something like that. So that's a good example of how you can get started, is just being more aware of what's around you. And if you see something that you don't think you would be uncomfortable with, or a scenario that you see that makes you feel uncomfortable, then try to think in the direction of what can I do to make myself more secure.
All right, so I'm down at the local McDonald's having a burger or whatever, right? And I need to check the internet. I want to check the Cleveland Indians score. It's
unlikely scenario,
because we
but-
all care about that first spring training game.
That's right. Yes, today.
So I'm dying to see if they're winning or losing in the second inning of spring training game number 1. All right. Anyway, so I'm at McDonald's. Do I go on their Wi-Fi or do I not? I mean, I think this is a question consumers really have. Do I connect to this public Wi-Fi or do I not?
Right. Well, that is a big threat nowadays. So if you're going to ask Tom, the security guy, is probably going to say, no, I wouldn't connect to public Wi-Fi personally. There's a lot of different devices that you can use. Specifically, I mean, part of my job and part of my responsibility is pen testing or hacking networks, right? So there's a little device that's super cheap and costs me $100 that I can put on a network, and when people are connecting to the McDonald's Wi-Fi, they'll connect to me instead.
Got it. We're sitting here with Tom Malenko from FindMyWeakness.com. If you have any thoughts about how do you protect your debit card, if you have Wells Fargo, or especially if you're a business owner and you're wondering if people over in some faraway country, out east, if you will, can hack into your system, I need you to stay tuned. We have 3 segments ahead right here. Bud 94.1.
Well, I could keep going. I have a trick for people if we want.
That's a great segment, man. That's,
I hope so.
This show's all about you too, man, so please feel free to promote your stuff. That's what it's all about.
Sure.
You know, I had just a quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was in Melbourne visiting my girlfriend's father for the first time. We park in the public shopping center there, and my car is one of those push button starts.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I go in the public, I come out, and I pushed it, and it wouldn't start. It disabled. It completely disabled. And I'm guessing someone was in a passing car that
Possibly.
had some sort of
Interference.
Wow.
And then my credit card company called me that night.
Really?
Saying my card was compromised.
Wow.
So
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't know.
So it was a drive-by?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
interesting.
assuming.
Huh.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I wonder how that would be correlated, but that's an
Russian.
It is. Damn meddling. All right. Here we go.
And welcome back to the program. My name is Justin Clark. It's another edition of Behind the Law. Thank you for spending some of your weekend here with me. If you have any questions, 321-282-1055. The website, www.youhavepower.com. That's youhavepower.com. You can watch the show live on Facebook. Anytime. We're here today talking to my good friend and I would say IT security expert, Tom Malenko from FindMyWeakness.com. Now, Tom, you work in a business that, the real poster boy for internet security is someone who has a great reputation, John McAfee.
Google him if you don't know who he is.
He's like the O.J. Simpson for running backs, this guy. But so let's not look at the industry beginner, because John McAfee didn't do you guys any justice, of course. But
He didn't kill his wife or anything, did he?
Well, I don't know.
we don't have to kill some people. We're talking about really, for now, consumer issues that we really have out on the streets, and how to protect yourself from getting your information stolen. Where you go in and log into your Wells Fargo account and your checking account has zero. No one wants to see that happen. Or your credit card's all run up, your credit takes a big hit. How do we protect ourselves from that happening? Now, Tom, let me ask you a question about credit cards in general. We've all gone to this, we used to swipe them, now we insert them, or now we get there and look at the cashier, like, which one do we do? Because we really don't know.
Sure.
And then the people behind you are like, dummy, you should have swiped there, or dummy, you should have inserted the chip here. And they're like, I'm sorry. It has both, so I don't know what to do. But this microchip thing on credit cards, is that protecting our credit cards now?
Yes. For the most part, yes. Now, it's already been compromised. The chip technology on the
Right,
card
of
has
course.
already been compromised, but it's not as easy to exploit that vulnerability as it is with the magnetic strip that's on the standard strip on the back of the card. So, so they've had that technology over in the EU for a number of years. We're just starting to bring it here in the United States. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but I believe that technology was compromised not shortly after it was developed so many years ago. So even before it started showing up here, it was already a weakness. But it is more secure. It is a more secure option than using the swipe for sure.
I think everyone knows when they sit down at their computer, they know that people can, if they're on Wi-Fi or whatever, they know it's a little bit vulnerable. But I think there's a comfortability factor when you're using your phone. But let's be honest, guys. We're going away from computers and even laptops. I mean, everything that you do now, you can almost do from your phone. Yeah. Is the phone more safe, Tom, or do we have to take measures to protect our phone as well?
Well, yes. To answer the question, yes, you do have to take. There are protective measures for your phone that you should take. Phones aren't. I don't want to say they're not as exploitable as computers because they are. They're just not as widely exploited as PCs are, right? So it's much easier for you. So I'm gonna drop a little note about a computer security. So everybody remembers Windows XP, right? Sure. So that went away a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, somebody actually had a fun test and they plugged a Windows XP computer directly to the internet, and it was hacked within 5 minutes. Well. Connecting your phone to the internet, it's not going to get hacked within 5 minutes, right? You do want to practice safe security practices on your devices, on your mobile devices. So Mick and I were just talking before the show. We were talking about the differences between Apple and Android. Generally, I'm not pushing one product or another. I've used both. I like both. The Apple products are generally a little bit more secure because the apps in the App Store are more vetted than they are on the Android store.
So
right?
Check them out.
Absolutely,
More
yeah.
than
Verify
Android.
the reputations, especially on the Android side of the house.
Of course, I have Android.
So on the Android side, so yes, verify the reputation of the apps that you're installing on your phones, okay? More so on the Android side of the house, but every now and then something on the Apple side of the house might leak through. So if it's more than likely, if it's some reputable app, no problem. But if it's just you want to do some quick thing and you want to install this little app because, I don't know, you want to connect to your Fitbit, but you're not using the Fitbit app, you're using some other app that connects to your Fitbit and some guy, Joe Schmo, made it in his garage, you might want to look that up or have second thoughts about installing an app like that because insecure apps are what lead to phone compromises.
Justin Clark here with you, talking to Tom Malenko, with a IT security guy from FindMyWeakness.com. Tom, everything is cloud-based now. And we're going to get to your businesses in just a minute. Please stick around if you're a business owner because we have a lot of information to give you. But even personally, right? Everything has gone cloud-based, it seems. You put something on your phone, the next thing you know, it's on your computer, then it's also on your tablet. You're like, how did you guys know this about me?
Yeah.
Because I just entered the information on my phone. Everything's gone cloud-based. Are there things that we can do as consumers to protect our information up in this cloud?
Yeah, there are some things that you can do. So there's a couple of different things that you want to consider when you're talking about using cloud security or cloud services, right? The first thing is what data is going into the cloud. What I do personally is I make sure that my data is backed up. So even though I'll have documents like, I don't know, if you have Dropbox or Office 365 or something like that, I always make sure that I have a local copy of my documents. Because if for some reason my cloud account does get compromised, I do have my original copies or my backup copies. That is a big thing that a lot of people fall prey to, especially in today's world. This ties back to cloud security, but with ransomware, we hear about ransomware in the news nowadays. If your files get encrypted, which is what ransomware does, once they're encrypted, they're done. You can't access them. So making sure that you have a good backup in place is always a good suggestion. That's the first thing.
But doesn't that defeat the cloud? You don't have to use storage your own. You can use their storage. So you're backing your same stuff up,
right?
And you're not saving anything.
Well,
right?
that's a good point. And unfortunately, so we're in a day and age right now where where security isn't as far ahead as it should be, right? So it is something that, so like we talked about earlier, measuring your risk. So what's the likelihood? Maybe the likelihood is kind of low, but if you, so I gave an example of Dropbox and Office 365 and all that stuff. If I get ransomware installed on my computer, it's going to encrypt all of those files that are on my computer, which are synchronized, like Justin said, to the cloud. So all of those files would get encrypted, right?
And they're going to go up in the cloud.
Right, exactly,
And
because
the
it's a
bug
mirror,
is
it's
there.
synchronization, exactly. So it's good, especially for your financials, probably your pictures. I know, Justin, you just had a little, another little baby. That stuff is important to you. What if you are okay with potentially losing that data? Then your risk level tolerance is high, and you don't, it's fine if your stuff gets encrypted because you don't care. But if it's something that you are worried about, you want to make sure you have a backup of the important stuff because things like that do happen.
Yeah, I've got it on a thumb. Save all my stuff on a thumb, but you can say check it out. There's a security thing where.
Sure.
And there's nothing that's ever turned up there. So
well, good.
I haven't had a problem yet.
Right, exactly.
It's Murphy's Law.
It happens.
Mick's been around for a few years, Tom, and he's having a little trouble remembering his passwords lately. Sorry to use you as an example,
I still
buddy.
have a rotary dial cell phone, so I'm okay.
So let's say I'm having trouble remembering my passwords.
Sure.
I had to have a password for this, password for that. I can't remember all 20 passwords.
Right.
Should I store them all on my phone, or do you have any other solutions for remembering these passwords?
Right. Yeah, I do have a couple recommendations there. So the first one, so let's just say that you're paranoid like I am, and you don't want to write all your passwords down, or you don't want to save them anywhere because you're a paranoid security guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And let's say that you do have a password that you like to use all the time, Mick, right? Yeah. And let's say that it's Cleveland. Okay, let's say your password's Cleveland, and you like to use the password of Cleveland everywhere you go. And you don't want the inconvenience of having to remember 20 different variations of a password or 20 different passwords. What you can do is you can take that base password and build around it. And what I recommend is, let's use an example of Yahoo. Let's say you have Yahoo Mail and you want to log into your Yahoo Mail. Well, don't set your password for Yahoo Mail as Cleveland, because that's the same as your bank account and your Dropbox, LinkedIn, and all that. Put a variation to that with Cleveland as the base and tie that password to the service that you're logging into. So, for example, maybe it's YAH Cleveland 2942, and it's always 2942, and it's always Cleveland, but the first three letters are the first three characters of the site that you're logging into. So the only thing that you need to quite remember is your algorithm of how you remember your passwords. And if you have that, you can still remember your Cleveland, 3762 or whatever I said, plus the three letters of the site. And then when you do that, every password is different.
I can't even spell algorithm. I'm sorry. I'm in a big hole here.
Well, don't use that as your password. Mike.
Okay.
321-282-1055. YouHavePower.com. My name is Justin Clark, sitting here talking internet security with you. So we've gone through a lot of the issues that we have as consumers. But I imagine the bigger problems out there that you see are for business owners and businesses and all of the fraud schemes that are out there. And I mean, it seems to me that most any decent-sized business, someone's tried to hack into before. What can business owners do to really test their system for the security?
Well, that's a good question. So if I own a business, if I'm just a regular standard business owner, so I've worked with businesses of all sizes, right? Small to medium, and medium to large size organizations, and enormous organizations. If I own a business, what I would tell owners of businesses right now is it is time to take security more seriously. In today's day and age, you have to have an input as to what your IT guys are doing for security. There's a lot of other things that you actually should be doing. You focus on your employee security awareness. So make them more aware of security, right? So it's all about identifying your risks, identifying your weaknesses, and responding to them accordingly. But a good leader cannot do that unless they understand the field that we're talking about here.
Plenty of more information ahead. My name is Justin Clark. The phone number, 321-282-1055. If you're a business owner and you're worried about someone hacking into your system and your computers, stick around. Bud 94.1.
This is going faster than I thought.
talk.
It goes quickly.
Yeah.
Well, when we have something good to talk about. Absolutely.
You doing great?
Yeah, man.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah.
Just change his password.
It took.
Yeah.
I'll still have an issue with that, though. I'm sure. Password wise.
Yeah.
All right. I'll point you out,
All right,
you
gotcha.
so you'll be good.
And welcome back to another half hour of Behind the Law with me, attorney Justin Clark, on Bud 94.1. I've got my good friend and Orlando radio legend Mick Dolan with us, Johnny Gash, filling in for my man Skid today. 321-282-1055. YouHavePowered.com. Thank you for spending some of your weekend with me. I think it's a really important show. We're talking with one of my good friends I play basketball with every morning, 6 a.m.
And he
That's
skunks
early.
you. He really
look at
takes
him.
it to you,
He's
doesn't he?
twice my height.
I know it.
Tom Malenko from FindMyWeakness.com.
And I just want to say real quick, I know Justin, he's a good lawyer and he brags a lot about his abilities as a lawyer, but
No, I
I'm telling you what, Justin is a sharpshooter on the court. I'm just
he
throwing
really?
that out there.
Oh,
He can shoot the
really?
ball.
Really?
Yeah, he's definitely an option when I run with him. So
I
So-
bet he's a scrapper, too.
Not really. I'm 38. I quit scrapping a few years back. But we're talking, I'm trying to give you, as a business owner, some advice on how to protect your information, your client's information, probably most importantly. But first, Tom, tell me about, because you've seen the other side of this, tell me about what happens after these hackers go into a business and what sort of tragedies on the other side of that.
right. So, a lot of times, if a business isn't well prepared for a breach, or if they're not well prepared for, getting, in my business, I say owned, you're in a bad case, right? You're in a bad situation, especially if you do have customers, like you said, Justin. If you're in a situation where you lose customer information, or in healthcare, patient information.
Oh, that's the worst.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
Or financial information, and you don't have the proper controls in place, the mitigation controls after that, you're in a world of hurt. So we can talk about cyber insurance. There's different mitigating factors that you can have to help mitigate your financial loss, because that's really what's going to happen, right? Is if you have customers that are working or that use your service and you lose their information, they're coming after you, right? So that's the thing, is to make sure that you have a good cyber insurance program in place. As far as getting things back and running, on the technical level, make sure you have a good backup. So the same thing applies on the business side as it does the individual side. So if you lose all the data of your company and you can't restore it because you got CryptoLocker, some ransomware variant on there, you're going to go out of business. And that's happened. That has happened. That's this ransomware has put people out of business. So
Can you just change your website or start all over? I mean, I know
Well,
it's kind of a pain in the ass, but
well, that would be, yeah. I mean, if you have the resources to do something like that, I guess technically you could start over. But one thing and one scary thought about, once somebody's in your network, it is hard to get them out of your network. So I would recommend to pull in an outside consultant if you don't have the expertise in your organization to come in and review your security after a breach to make sure that everything has tightened up. Because there are scenarios where somebody will come in and own a network and get access to systems, and then they'll come through and they'll clean it up. They'll clean up what they identified, but they won't know that attacker or that hacker has moved through their network and is all over their system. So just, yeah, exactly what you said, Nick. That would be the best way if you had the money to do it. Just throw it all away and start over. But
So
it's not always the case.
business owners constantly hire consultants to look at their profit and loss statements, look and see what they're spending on employees versus what they're spending on advertising or how to go paperless, right? You hear constantly about businesses hiring consultants for that. But we're talking about threats from overseas where people can log into your system, steal your customer data, but you don't think about hiring someone like Find My Weakness to come in and do a health check on your digital security. Is that something that you guys can do? And how do you do that, Tom?
That is what we do. That's one of the services that we provide. So we can come in at any level that you're interested in having us at, right? So we can come in and talk to your IT guys and show them how to do the computer geeky stuff, right? So I have every certified acronym after my name. So I am a jack of all trades, but a master of none. So I can talk with any technical person, any geek about anything. I'm a geek. So that's the first thing. We can come in and do that. Or if you want us to consult at a higher level, right? If you need us to tell you about risk management and how to handle, how to prioritize the different risks in your environment, or how to identify those risks or those weaknesses in your environment, we can help you do that. If you need help on the security side from a perspective of, hey, we don't have this expertise whatsoever, what would you guys recommend from an architectural perspective that we should put in our network? Well, we can come in, help you design it, set it up, and then we can come out. Or you can pay us on a retainer and we can just be your security department as a service, right?
And then they could sue you. When something
Right.
goes
So
wrong.
then we need to
There
have
you
our
go.
cybersecurity
I got
insurance
you.
in
All
place.
right.
Exactly. Yeah. You can pass
It's a
the buck.
wonderful world, isn't it?
Most business owners that I talk to, I have like their IT guy, right?
Yeah.
Or they have the managed service contract with an IT place. But I mean, these IT people, maybe they do a little bit of security, but I have some concerns that a lot of these IT companies, so to speak, out there aren't as qualified when it comes to security. They say, oh, yeah, we're backing you up every day. But what are some of the weaknesses that you see with some of these managed service IT companies out there when it comes to security?
Well, yeah. So a lot of these managed service companies, I'm not going to bash them. What happens is they specialize in one or two or three different areas, right? And it's hard to really understand the security across multiple domains. So they may understand, hey, we can come in and set up your servers, your systems, or we can come in and set up all your computers or your network. But they like to come in, get the job done, and knock it out, right? So they don't always necessarily look at everything from the security perspective. And I understand that. And from a business perspective, they don't always look at it from that perspective either, because everybody just wants their business to work, right? They need to get things up and running and they need to make money. From a consulting perspective, there are some consultants out there that do all kinds of different technology, and then they do have an arm that specializes in security, but that's not something that you see quite as often right now. I'm sure that will change over time. But everybody's spread thin, right? So if you have that one IT guy, if you're a small business owner and you have that one IT guy and you're going to go beat him up on Monday and say, hey, what's going on with our security? I listened to this. Remember that your IT guys are probably spread pretty thin and they have to know a million things, right? So somebody's going to call them about their phone, and then somebody's going to call them about their PC, and then somebody's going to call them and tell them that their Facebook got hacked, and they need to know a lot of stuff. So just keep that in mind as well.
I mean, I think it's hard to know how to address, 40 users when their Outlook's not updating properly versus protecting against some hackers in India getting into your entire system. So I think you need to be very careful. Even if you have one of these kind of an IT guy, a guy who's sort of a freelancer who he sells shoes during the day, but he does your IT work at night. I really think you need to call someone like Tom over at Find My Weakness if you're a business owner. I mean, you have to do it, especially if you have sensitive information, like my firm. The last thing I want is getting all of my clients' information and social security numbers and bank accounts out there. I mean, it's going to screw it. It would be terrible.
Right.
I mean, it's just not something that can happen. And I always hear about people talking about endpoints. What are these endpoints? These are individual users because they can hack in anywhere, right?
Yeah. Endpoints, what we refer to endpoints in the industry is pretty much just any device that somebody puts their hands on. So if it's a computer, if it's a laptop, a phone, we see those as endpoints. Usually those are the most insecure devices. And in addition to that, the hands, the people that are touching those are probably the most insecure thing in the whole environment, right? So on top of all the technical vulnerabilities that we talk about, uneducated people when it comes to security is the biggest risk to every organization, and I can't stress that enough. If your front desk person is super friendly and she likes to make people happy, that's what you're paying her for, and somebody calls her on the phone and social engineers her or tries to talk her into giving some information out, she wants to be helpful. That's part of her job. You can't slight her for that. And so, a lot of entry points into systems and networks come through people. People click on the links that run the bad program that exploits the computer, right? So that's a big part of today's security issues is uneducated users.
We had an issue a couple years back, I think at the insurance company that I own, and we got our emails got blacklisted or something because one of our employees was surfing porn at the office, and and everyone was like, "It's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault." And I said, "This is not the employee's fault. This is our fault as the business owner,
Right.
because you're going to have rogue employees, or you're going to have the great
Right.
receptionist, like you said. I think that's a great point.
Right.
This is a great receptionist who you hire and train to be personable and nice to people." And you have someone to call in, and she's trying to do her job. It is not her job to prevent your business from getting attacked.
Absolutely.
It is your job as the business owner to prevent that. And I think a good start for you would be going to findmyweakness.com and calling Tom here to come do a health check on your security through your entire IT department. There's just so many different issues. You hear all the time, too, and I think this is probably an antiquated statement, but I hear some business owners going around at night saying, make sure you turn your computer off before you leave. Make sure you turn it off before you leave. Does that really matter? I mean, should everyone turn their computers off in the office before they go home?
That's a good question, actually. So, I mean, if you want to save power, I mean, if you got 20,000 computers and your electric bill is, $1 million a month, maybe you want to have them turn it off, it'll save you some money. But from a security perspective, I don't know if this surprises you or not, but I would say probably not. And the reason why is because that's a good opportunity to update your computers, right? So you don't want to get those security updates in the middle of the day while you're working. So why don't you have a structured security management program where you're actually deploying and updating those annoying Windows updates that we all get? You can schedule that stuff so your computer doesn't have to reboot in the middle of the day. So from that perspective, I'd say leave your computers on. If you want to save on the electric bill, turn them off. But when you turn them on, you need to update them during the day.
Right.
I've read your resume, and I won't mention any places that you've worked for, of course, but I've noticed you've done work for some very big institutional type clients. Have you ever been surprised at some of the things that you've seen that even big corporations aren't doing? And then is there something that we can use that you've learned from working with huge companies that's a really easy solution that we can get the small business owner to use to inexpensively protect all of their customers' data? And that's all right here on the other side of this break. My name is Justin Clark. The name of the show, Behind the Law, 321-282-1055. Plenty more ahead on Bud 94.1.
Security purposes.
What was that?
Remember Y2K?
Yeah.
Okay. When that happened, it was everybody had to upgrade their.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so my thought then was, oh, that's just a business. Somebody's really trying to goose everything up. But it ended up being good because they were forced to update.
Absolutely. Yeah, there were a lot of systems that would have been broke bad if they didn't update, for sure.
All right. Is the music coming in all right?
Yep.
Is that good? Okay. All right.
Welcome back to one more segment of Behind the Law with me, attorney Justin Clark. If you have any questions, 321-282-1055. I'm here with IT security expert Tom Malenko from FindMyWeakness.com. Plenty of information about his business and what he can do to protect your business. Go to his website, FindMyWeakness.com. Reach out to him. He'd be happy to come give you a security analysis of your system. Make sure that you're not going to lose all of your customer data. And then let's be honest, get sued by someone like me. Although I wouldn't take the case if you would have been working with them, I won't take the case. I promise you that. You have my commitment on that.
That's your insurance, Tom. That's your insurance policy.
Tom, you've worked with some really big businesses out there. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been surprised when you walk into these huge corporations at maybe some of the vulnerabilities that you saw that you wouldn't expect for such a big company?
Yeah, the bigger the organization, maybe the bigger the holes sometimes. So when it comes to big organizations, they're worried only about profit and shareholders, right? So as long as something doesn't break to where it's going to take the whole organization down, they're probably okay with it in a lot of situations. Now, with that said, a lot of these bigger organizations are starting to take security a lot more serious nowadays. The only thing is that the larger the organization, the bigger the problem it is to secure all these systems. So it's not a slight against them, but the holes are definitely more frequent in larger organizations.
What happens when Equifax has a problem?
That's a good
That's like,
question.
oh,
So
boy.
whenever
Now my credit report is.
yeah, you're too big to lose. So I'm going to tell you a funny story about Equifax. So Equifax, as we know, got hacked a couple of months ago. A couple 100 million, 150 million people's information got released out on the internet. Equifax's official Twitter account tweeted a website that you can go to put in your social security number to see if you've been breached or not.
Oh.
For some reason,
Oh, no.
the official website was equifaxsecurity.com. So if you want to go to equifaxsecurity.com, you can check that out to see if you were part of the breach. This website I would suggest you do not go to, but they tweeted from their official Twitter account, securityequifax.com.
Oh, geez.
Somebody mixed the words up, and coincidentally, somebody took advantage of that and mirrored the official site and harvested social security numbers. So it was like a twofold problem from Equifax. What can you do in those situations? Well, some of those companies, they're too big to fail. There's not much else you can do. But what I do recommend is anytime you get an opportunity to take advantage of the credit monitoring services when a breach happens, take full advantage of that, right? So a lot of the credit monitoring features that you have nowadays, you can lock your credit profile down to where nobody can register anything new. You can just lock it down, right? So if somebody were to steal your identity, they're going to run into a brick wall. And if you want to go apply for that car or that credit card, you can unlock it, apply for the card, get approved, and
It's
then lock
easy
it
to
back
unlock.
up. They're making it easier nowadays, right? So I know Equifax made a big...
I've heard it was not real quick.
Right. Well, and then there's services out there. What's that one service where there was that guy that used to give out a social security number all the time? LifeLock. LifeLock.
Yeah.
He used to put his social security number on the TV.
Was that real?
Yeah, it was real. That was his real social security number, and that guy got owned by everybody, every good hacker in the world, and like he went bankrupt, and like his whole life got ruined because he did that. So, so again, no solution is 100% secure, but you do have solutions like LifeLock where you can put your information in there, and then they'll safeguard you and they'll send you alerts. So there are certain things that you can do to kind of help mitigate if something does happen. And one more thing, the credit card companies are getting really good. I'm going to say one more thing after that.
Please.
The credit card companies are getting really good about notifying you when something happens. If there's something suspicious, almost to the point to where it can be a little irritating sometimes. If you're out of town, you might get a text and it's like, oh, you need your card to work. But it's good for, it's best for you to, for that to happen. So credit card versus debit card, use your credit card. Don't use your debit card. Credit card gives you more protections when you swipe your credit card versus your debit card. When you swipe your debit card, the money comes out of your bank account. When you swipe your credit card, it's the bank that account that money is coming out of until you have to pay for it. So there's more protections around your credit. It doesn't hurt you as much. So I just wanted to throw that little tip out there while it was on my mind.
I think it's fantastic. For a business owner who has, the IT guy who works at night, hasn't done a whole lot for security. They have a server that's, sitting in the back IT closet or whatever. How easy or hard is it for someone who really knows what they're doing to hack into their system?
For somebody that really knows what they're doing, if it's an unsecured system, it's minutes. If a dedicated, so in the industry, so I go to a lot of different security conferences, right? And over the last, 6-7 years ago, I'd go to conferences and they were pounding on the desk saying, we got to do everything we can do to keep these bad guys out. I hate to say this, but the narrative has changed over the last couple of years. At the security conferences, the perspective is they're going to own us. We need to figure out how long it takes for us to identify that they hacked us. That's the new perspective. So even the larger companies are easy to get in. So the Iranian, nuclear facility was exploited a couple of years ago. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah,
but that was a nation state attack, right? So even some of the most secure systems can be exploited. So when we talk about an unsecure system sitting in a closet somewhere, it's a big problem.
I see, we have this Alexa thing or Echo, whatever you call it in my house, right? And then this lady really knows what I like, what I dislike. I mean, it's a little bit scary. I first started recognizing this when I would get in my car and go to work in the morning, and it knew where I was going. It tells me how to get to the YMCA.
Yeah.
I mean, this electronic equipment knows so much about us, right? I mean, is everything that we do getting tracked basically now?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. The analytics that we're getting from our social media and all these different apps that we have installed on our phone that say, would you like for me to use your location, or can I have your location or something? All of this stuff is getting ingested into big data, right? So in my opinion, it all comes down to advertising. Everybody wants to sell you something, so they're going to collect all your information. So Justin, if you talk to Alexa and you tell her you want to order some milk, and so they're going to know. Maybe if you're ordering 2 gallons nowadays versus back in the day, maybe they're going to think, oh, maybe there's a new baby in the house or something like that. So you might start getting ads for diapers,
That is
So
so scary.
they put all that together. So, but honestly, I hate to say it, that's the world that we live in. And you, to a point, have the option to partake in that world or not. I mean, you can't really just go live in the woods somewhere and completely disconnect from technology, but it's a part of what we are nowadays.
You have to minimize your risk.
There you go. Yeah, you're talking the right language, Mick.
I would like to. This might be
Is
off.
that good?
That was great.
Okay.
Might be off topic a little bit, but it is somewhat on topic. And that artificial intelligence. We see videos of the Amazon plant.
Will be the death of us.
We have human supervisors basically, but the Amazon plant can do everything with robots, right?
Yeah.
But then there is this little concern we all have in the back of our head a little bit that, okay, so these robots are pretty strong and they don't really feel pain like we do. Could we ever get to a point in this society where we've gone a little bit too far and they outsmart us?
I'm sure. I mean, computers, they can calculate, however
That's
many
not
million.
the answer I wanted
Exactly.
to hear.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Come on.
I'm sure. I mean, you got to be realistic.
Hope you enjoyed your last appearance
Yeah,
on Behind the
exactly.
Law with me, attorney Justin Clark.
Yeah, it is. I mean, unfortunately, again, this is one of those things where it's the world. I saw an article yesterday. It was talking about AI, and it was talking about how I can't remember off the top of my head. It might have been Elon Musk that said this, or some big name in the industry. And he talked about how we need to have a kill switch for the robots that want to kill us.
Exactly.
And
Terminator.
Exactly.
Hello.
It's possible. It's possible. So all those sci-fi movies, I don't like to preach the sky's falling. I don't think that's the case with AI. There's a lot of things going on with AI, and maybe not it'll happen anytime soon, but AI is going to get smart. So there's this Chinese game. It's called Go, and it's this crazy game that's like chess, but it's this crazy game with multi-billion moves, and these computers nowadays are playing the human champions, and they're just running over them nowadays, right? Yeah. So if they can calculate all of this stuff, once they can learn how to write their own code, and again, I'm not here to preach all that stuff. It's going to be years away from that, but it's something to think about. Your car, especially with self-driving cars, there's AI right there.
There you go.
So we got to worry about the car wanting to drive us off the cliff, and then we also got to worry about the hacker wanting to hack the car, which has already been done. They can drive us off the cliff. So,
as a business guy, marketing guy, what genius was it for him to put Elon Musk? You mentioned earlier to put that Tesla in that rocket ship, right?
Did you see those pictures? In the video?
That was absolutely unbelievable.
It looked fake. It was so crazy.
So he's going to go spend billions of dollars putting this spaceship in the sky, but that's pretty good marketing money right there too, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
brilliant.
Super smart guy, Elon Musk.
What are some of the biggest mistakes business owners are making right now when it comes to protecting the integrity of their security and their customers' data?
They're not giving their IT folks a good ear to listen to what they have. So your IT guys, most of the times, I hope, are worried about security. Again, ask your guys about security. If they're not telling you about security, ask them. If they are telling you about your security, you got to listen, because they're going to have a lot of good things to say. If you don't have somebody to tell you, you can give me a call. But that's the most important thing, right? So security is such a big. There's an umbrella that covers so many topics. I can come up with 100 bullet points of saying you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this. The most important thing you have to do is you have to be aware and concerned with the risk. Once you do that, everything will fall into place. You'll find the bullet points out on your own. You'll figure out what are the most important things that you need to do. I mean, obviously, your crown jewels, your data is the most important thing to your business. So you need to think about anything that you can do and everything that you can do to make sure that those crown jewels are protected. So ask your IT guys, hey, what do we need to do? So whether it's encryption or backing up or what all these things that we talked about, worry about your risk. That's the most important thing.
That is Tom Malenko from FindMyWeakness.com. Tom, if anyone has any further questions after the show, how do they reach out to you?
Two different ways. I got the website, findmyweakness.com. And we have a toll-free number you can call us as well. It's 844-END-RISK, ENDRISK.
My name is Justin Clark for Mick Dolan over there on my right and Johnny Gash filling in for Skid.
Yeah.
I don't know much, Mick, but I do know one thing.
What's that?
I will see you right back here next Saturday on Bud 94.1.
Yeah.
Good show. I'll be
Thanks.
posting that on Facebook.